All right, we're on.
We are on.
Draft Over or Under podcast. I'm Joe Murray. Dan Liftshots is here. We'll get it going here. You guys can chat in. We got championship weekend, NFL. We got games tonight all across the NBA and in the college basketball. A bunch of stuff on the table here. So we'll get it going. And of course, we got a good little Iowa game tonight that I have a play on. The team total 79.5 tonight, Dan.
You're gonna play with fire, aren't you?
You know what happened last time, though.
I do know what happened last time. Yes.
So I'm not falling for that again. So that's a little tease here. I'm going to try something new today. This is something we haven't done yet, Dan. But I'm going to try a little something. And let's see how it works.
All right, hit me.
Here is today's college basketball schedule.
Oh, nice. I like that.
These are the top 25 games. This is all on ESPN. We got Iowa, Indiana, 10-point spread, over under 150. And then tonight, UCLA on the road at Cal. And, of course, if we hit the Division I, we can see all the other games that are on today as well. Give it a second here. And see, so you can see it. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll get rid of the banner so everybody can see. I'll make it a little bigger, too.
There you go.
And, yeah. And if people want to head in.
All right, we ready? I think we're ready to start.
I'm ready. Your boy Will Capper checking in. What's up, Will Capper?
What's going on, big guy? What's going on, my guy Drew? I haven't talked to Drew in a while.
What did I see him on? He was doing something this week.
He's all over the place, man. He's all over the place. He's doing a million things. So,
yep.
All right, let's get started. What do you want to do here? You want to do NBA? You want to do college basketball?
We'll do college basketball first. We'll since it's championship weekend, we'll do that next. Rutgers, Penn State. Rutgers 2.5 on the road tonight. I always fear going against Penn State at home, and Rutgers with the low total there, and with the low spread at 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State had a nice home game last time out versus Illinois. I mean, they ended up losing pretty badly by 17, but they were in that game for a while. I had a road performance at Michigan a couple weeks ago. We're in that game, lost that game by 4. On the road at Indiana, a couple weeks ago, lost that game by 2. And in the Purdue and the Illinois games most recently, they've just played so many road games against really good teams. I mean, playing Purdue, I know they're not a ranked team, but that's a great, road team. Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. I guess that Indiana win our loss looks a little worse, than it did a couple weeks ago, but a good road win on the road at Virginia Tech a couple weeks ago, won that game by 20. I think this Penn State team is undervalued just because of the fact that they played so many road sides and mostly very good road sides. To me, against the Rutgers team who on the road this year, a good win at Maryland, got pretty badly beat on that Ohio State game, got crushed in Michigan State, and then they haven't had too much, but just in general, the road efforts from Rutgers outside of that Maryland game, which I think early in the season, still a good win. I think you have to credit them for that. They haven't had much, and I think that back-to-back roadies here for them, Penn State and Indiana. I think tonight is a good night as any to fade Rutgers. 3-5 in the Big Ten. I know Penn State does not have a win in the Big Ten yet. Again, we've kind of talked about they faced very good competition on the road in the Big Ten. To me, I think this is a good night, as good a night as any, to fade them. Penn State opened up as a 1.5 point favorite, now catching 2.5 at home. I don't love it. I'm not going to PP it or anything, but I think that's a good side there.
Couple of trends here, head-to-head. Underdog 3-0-1 against the spread last 4. Road team 5-2-1. You mentioned those overs, Dan. You mentioned Rutgers on the road as well. Those are all there. There's some, trends when it comes to to Penn State as well. For me, I always tend to stay away from fading Penn State at home. It's a small number. You mentioned the Big Ten in general, trying to get a win there. Could be something to look into tonight. Any of these other games stand out to you, Dan? Wichita State, Memphis.
Yeah, I think that's a game that we should talk a little bit about.
Okay, as you see here, Wichita State 7-3 their last 10, 6-1-1 against the spread. Did you know that Memphis 5-5 against the spread this year? 5-5 in their last 10 though, 1-9 against the spread. Holy crap!
Yeah. I mean, they started as a team that was highly rated. Coming off of last year where they were, pretty good. Obviously, lost Wiseman, so that hurt them, of course. But came into the year very highly rated. Remember, we took Western Kentucky in that second game of the season after they absolutely crushed St. Mary's in the first game, and since then I feel like it's been a downhill, just mess for Memphis really since the first game of the season. They had a bunch of games postponed. They lost at Tulsa outright, which is, an 0-2 versus Tulsa, which is, embarrassing as it is. This is an interesting bounce back spot for them, Joe. I don't hate it. I do lean Memphis in this one. I don't think I can play it, but I do lean that way. I'd be more apt to play Penn State than I would be Memphis, but I know that Memphis at home can be a side that plays well. Wichita on the road this year, 4-0. 3-1. They lost at Houston. I forgot about that game. They lost at Houston. They've been the Shockers have been good this year. They have been. They're another good side in the American. They're second behind that Houston team. They're not better than a Houston team. Houston is by far the best team in that conference. That being said, this is a kind of spot where Memphis, who is a talented team, can catch them. We'll see. I lean Memphis. I can't play it.
Yeah, the favorite 5-1 their last 6 in this matchup. St. Mary's playing at some point. Belmont's a big favorite. Just kind of going through who's having a down year is Murray State. Woof.
Yeah, I mean they've lost a lot of talent. Jacksonville State. Again, Murray State's a 7.5-point favorite tonight, so we'll see how that goes. Let's get to that 9:00 game, Indiana, Iowa. You kind of talked about it beforehand. This is again. It's another home game for Iowa. They've been just absolutely fantastic at home this year, right? I mean, outside of that Gonzaga game, they have been the best home team in the country, or one of them at least. They have, again, the one home loss to the number one team in the country by 11. A game that wasn't super competitive, but Iowa did what they could. They're coming off that huge win at Northwestern. They blew them out on the road. That game was not close whatsoever either. I don't really know what to expect here. I'll tell you, Iowa's going to be the square side. So is the over. There's nothing really surprising about that, especially with the total being 150.5. Iowa opened at 10. It's now 10.5 most places. I think this is a game that you wait for the second half unless you really feel confident about either Indiana or Iowa. To me, this is a spot where I'm passing, especially Iowa off a road game against Northwestern and Indiana, who had their last game postponed and really did not put up a good performance versus Purdue at home. And Purdue, not exactly the strongest road side in the Big Ten either.
All right, one thing I wanted to look at was team totals when it came to college basketball. And I wanted to look at Iowa's. Dan, you made a point a couple of weeks back regarding, the Iowa on the road. Do you have their at home splits at the moment? And I just wanted to show my book what it looks like here.
Yeah, I mean their actual home record this year. Once you take out all the neutral courts, just in conference, I mean they have a win versus Iowa State, a win versus Northern Iowa, a home win versus Purdue, a loss to Gonzaga, a win versus Northwestern, and a win versus Michigan. The rest of the games have been on the road. I think that UNC game was also neutral court. I'll double check that for you, but I don't have that as a win here. Yeah, that was the ACC Big Ten Challenge. So I think no, it was in Iowa, so that is a home win too. So I mean, they've been a very good home side, Joe. I mean, they're averaging 93 versus UNC, 105 versus Iowa State, 106 versus Northern Iowa, 70 versus Purdue, which is definitely an outlier. In that kind of game, 87 versus Northwestern, 86 versus Minnesota. So right now, I mean, they're averaging, especially in these Big Ten games, 80-ish points a game. And even in that Gonzaga game, 88 points at home against a good Gonzaga team, the best Gonzaga team in the country, best team in the country, I should say. They put up 88. Iowa can run the floor when they want to. It really depends on how Iowa wants to play that night. And against a team like Indiana, who's kind of a slower paced team, Joe, not exactly an offensive juggernaut this year. My expectation is they're not going to try and get into a track meet with them. There's no need to. They're better than them. They them. Indiana on the road this year, just in terms of sheer output, hasn't been great against really good teams. That Wisconsin game was overtime. They only scored 73, 60 on the road at Illinois, 67 at Florida State. I just don't see Iowa getting into a track meet with them.
And right now, the number 80.5. I'm showing you this at the current book. 80.5 right now, Dan. Even money both ways. So there's no real value on this. And as you mentioned, I don't know if 10 points, especially the way that Indiana struggled on the road, might be worth. Oh, you know what I wanted to take a look at? This is something that stood out to me for the last couple of weeks, dude. But in the Big Ten, first half overs, especially these Iowa, Michigan, these type teams, dude. Look at this. 71.5 right now. Iowa has scored 40 points. I don't know how many times this year in the first half. This might be an overplay. 71.
I would not play the over tonight. Nope, not for me. Again, Indiana, as we talked about, does not have so far a good track record on the road, and I just no, it's not for me. I would be a hard pass on the total. In fact, to me, this is a hard pass on the game unless you really like Indiana. I think Iowa is incredibly square. Again, it's to me, if you wanted Iowa, you wanted at 10. Definitely not the hook. I'm passing on that tonight.
All right. Anything else stand out to you? I know the 9 o'clock games.
Yeah, I mean they use. Yeah, I mean there's two other really good games tonight I think we should discuss. The UCLA Cal game and the Arizona State game. Just in my opinion, obviously two games that are going completely opposite directions. Excuse me. UCLA has been unbelievable. They're 6-0 in their last 6. They've won at home versus Colorado, home versus Utah, on the road at Arizona State and Arizona. The Washington win really is not impressive, although Washington did beat Colorado last night, so that was a nice win. They blew out Washington State by 30. Cal's been up and down. Not a great season for them. They did get a nice road win at Utah. Good comeback in that second half, but got blown out at Colorado in the first half before that game. Right now, UCLA, right now at 9-point favorites, total sitting at 132 despite 77% of the bet on the over. This is one of those games, dude, where I think you have to, again, I think you have to be smart and play the over, dropping from 138 to 132.5. Not exactly my normal Suns play, but I'm looking for a little bit of value in the total. In terms of the spread, I like UCLA. I think they cover the 9 tonight. I know it's a big number. I know they're on the road. I know they're coming off. To me, a game in which, they didn't play super well versus Washington at home. Washington easily covered that game. I still think UCLA on the road has been incredibly impressive this year when they've needed to be. I like them to cover the 9 at Cal. I think they win this game double digits going away.
Look at this. Over 4-0 of UCLA's last 4 road games. Their last 6 games are favored 5-1. Look at all these overs. Over, and the favorite 4-0 against the spread. So UCLA and the over might be the play tonight based off some of the history there between the two teams. And I know there's a few NBA games we'll get to. And finally, I just wanted to see what else we had here.
Arizona State, I think is a game that we should probably talk about. Arizona State, in my opinion, Joe, might be the most disappointing team in all of college basketball this year. Truly,
Remy Martin, woof.
Yeah,
that kid had so much potential, and Arizona has been good, but they've slipped up a little bit. Haven't been great against the spread lately, but Arizona State's just not even bettable.
I mean, they're not in this situation. I think I would play them. I think this would be. I think to me this is a legitimate
angle. Team 9-4-2.
The problem is that they're playing so poorly. It's almost impossible for me to take them. I'm not going to back them, but to me, this is a playable spot. Arizona's starting to play a little bit worse. That road win at Oregon State, though, I mean they fucking crushed them. That game was not close, but they're 4-3 in the Pac-12. I mean they're not exactly an elite team. That 10-3 record, excuse me, is a little bit misleading. Again, when you play teams like Grambling and Northern Arizona and Cal State Bakersfield. Your record's going to be a bit inflated. So that 10-3 record is inflated to me. I think there is a little bit of value Arizona State if you can get a 3, maybe 3.5, hopefully before game time, find a hook there. I think that there's some value there. I can't play it. I can't do it myself. Again, I think college basketball this year is just like every other sport, different than it has been in the past. It's frustrating to say, but that is the case. It's different than it has been in the past. And to me, again, it's just it's not a spot that unfortunately that I can play there. It's not. I will give you one. And it's a little bit out there, but 10:00, Portland State hosting Idaho State. I am taking Portland State -2.5. You got that PP. So
where the hell is that?
Yeah, that's at 10:00 in Portland,
right
Oregon
here.
tonight.
Here we go. Portland State. Dan, what is your pick?
I'm taking Portland State -2.5.
Ooh, okay. So you got 2.5. This is a cover. I'm using covers.com. It covers, whether you love it or not, it's just easy. And that's why I'm using it. If you'd like me to recommend something else, I'll use that. I was trying ESPN. That sucked. But, here you go. 2.5. 2 open to 2. It's 3 at some places. 64% of the money's on this side. They're 2-7 versus a 6-6 team. What I like to do is just look at trends. I don't use them. I just look at them. And for the most part, the favorite is 3-1-1 in the last 5 meetings, which would lean towards Portland. Now look at all these overs here too. Ooh.
Yeah, now Portland State hasn't played at home in what feels like a month. They played Weber State in a back-to-back there on December 20th and 18th. They lost the first game to Weber, wasn't close, 94-66. The second game, they won 74-72. This is also a back-to-back home game, back-to-back home series for that Idaho State. But, since those 2 Weber games, they've been on the road at Oregon State, actually had a good performance, lost by 5, covered the spread there. Lost versus a team that I don't even know what this team is. Northwestern Nazarene, I guess. I can see how you could not be motivated to play against a shit team when you don't care. 2 road losses to Montana State by 7 and 5. Now coming back home, Idaho State. I'm telling you right now, if they lose today, I'll be back on them Saturday. Portland State in this game, but if they win tonight, off. But I again haven't played a home game in a long time. This record's a little bit. I'd say the record is a little bit, overinflated about how bad it is just because of that game. So,
All right, I'm going back to the well. And I mentioned this earlier. I've had success with this, and I'm gonna let it ride. And I just want to get the line again, just so I have it right. And I know Dan wants to stay away, but I can't. Give me over 71 first half, Iowa, Indiana. So there you go, PP it. And again,
there you
be
go,
careful.
PP.
And again, be careful. This is something that I've had success with. Let's just say that the last 7 times that I've tried it, it's gone 6-1, and it missed by half a point the last time that I did it. So again, to Dan's point, there's no need for a track meet tonight when it comes to Iowa, but I'm gonna go over 71 first half, just for the simple fact it's again this will be the 8th time in a row that I have played Michigan or Iowa in like a lot of these the Big Ten schools. So there we go. So we got one each, right, out of college basketball so far.
Yep.
I think that's it, right? So we move on to the NBA for tonight.
Yeah, let's move on to the NBA here. We got 3 games tonight. Sorry, my wife just came home. My dogs are very happy to see her.
It's all good.
Okay, yeah. So we got.
So
Let's
this
start
one's
with
a
the
good
Lakers game.
This one's a good one. Lakers, I believe, are coming off that loss to Golden State, right?
Yep, that blown second half lead to Golden State. Yep.
So keep that in mind. Let's not forget Milwaukee lost to the Nets the other night. I'm not sure if they played since then.
They have not.
Lakers are undefeated on the road. We know Milwaukee's got that one loss so far. Both teams 8-2. I mean, they're playing well. Both teams are playing well. Potential NBA final matchup for those who like that. I don't think these trends matter much because these two teams don't play often. But as you see here, last 6 meetings, Lakers 1-5. And then the unders have been big in this series, but these two teams probably have played once with LeBron, maybe twice with LeBron James. So or Giannis. So but history shows that the Lakers struggle. Whoever's on their team struggle when they go to Milwaukee. So Dan, if you're eyeballing this game, the better team against the spread is the Lakers. But how do you see this one shaking out?
Well, Milwaukee's 6-1 at home. To me, they're the classic team where they're blowing out the good teams, and they're losing to the good ones. I mean, they're 1-1.
I just want to mention the Lakers are opening up a 7-game road trip tonight.
Yeah. So, I mean, Milwaukee, 1-1 against the Heat, 0-1 against the Celtics, 0-1 against the Jazz, 0-1 against the Nets. It does feel like there is a consistent theme here where when they play superior talent, they're struggling against that superior talent with the Lakers. That being said, still 6-1. Most of those games against the superior talent have been on the road. Which again in the NBA during the regular season, it is a bit of a difference, and especially now with COVID, the travel is a bitch. I mean, really, that is the case. To me, this is there's one easy side in this one. It's the over. I'm firmly on the over. So why don't we just PP that? Lakers Bucks over 228.5 PP. Hey, to me, this is the easy play. I very much expect both these teams to score in the 120-ish range. The Lakers have produced an incredible amount of offense on the road. 128 against the Thunder, 117 to 120 against the Rockets. And 94 and the 108 against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are an under team. 109 and 121 against the Spurs. So I mean, with the exception of Memphis, they have been a very high scoring road team. And the same can be said with Milwaukee. At home, they're putting up a ridiculous amount of points. 138 versus Golden State, 126 versus Chicago, 125 and 130 against Detroit, 118 against the Jazz, 112 against the Mavericks. So I mean, these are two high scoring teams. LA on the road has to be an offensive team that their defense just is not traveling the way that they're playing on the road, with the exception of maybe those Thunder games and those Rocket games. In Milwaukee, at home, they've been, putting the pedal to the metal, 6-1, as we talked about, scoring a lot of points at home. I do think that ultimately this is an over game between these two teams. Feel very strongly about that.
And again, these are just trends. These are just history of the two teams. Clearly, the two teams are much different than anything we've seen in history. But in the past, the under was very strong in these matchups. And the last time the two teams played, it went to 115 points. That was last March when they weren't in the bubble yet. So where I'll back you on the over, Dan, is the Lakers were so bad in transition against the Warriors. That's why they lost the game. They just let the transition for the Warriors just kept them in it. Not to mention Steph Curry went off, but the Lakers will be better. I think they'll bounce back. I think from that offensively. While you mentioned the Bucks put up points, right? And national television game, we know that Giannis and LeBron are going to the line tonight, along with Anthony Davis.
Yep. There's going to be a lot of calls. I expect both teams to, to try and put on what they call a fucking show in the NBA. A lot of points, a lot of star power. And I do like Milwaukee as the side tonight, but God knows I wouldn't play it. But, I lean towards the home side, 6-1 home, 7-1 on the road. I still think that the home side usually in those situations is good. So, all right, 10 o'clock, Joe. Couple of games out west. New Orleans travels to Utah, takes on the Jazz. The Jazz are a 7-point favorite. Total in this one is 216.5. I got to tell you, I have no great feel on this game. The Jazz have been an okay home side. The Pelicans have been a bad road side, which is not really crazy considering they're 5-8. The Jazz surprisingly 10-4, but just 3-2 at home. So surprisingly, despite the fact that they played so well to start the year, they're just 3-2 at home. The Pelicans just lost by 16 at the Jazz in Utah the other night. Now they're back, and Utah's only a 7-point favorite. What do you make of this one?
So I think Utah's just clearly the hotter, better team. New Orleans will hang around. They'll probably put up a ton of points. So I'm going to say Utah covers. In generally, a lot of these TNT games, the home teams win. I know Houston upset last week, right? Then they just made that big trade. I lean Utah, and I kind of lean the over. I think that New Orleans will put up a lot of points. I'm not going to PP anything here, but if I'm dabbling on it, I like Utah on the over.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to lean New Orleans in the under. I just think that on the back-to-back games, you're probably going to be able to come up with a better defensive plan than night one. Hard to beat a team back-to-back nights, in my opinion. It's harder to beat a team back-to-back nights than, say 3 times in a year. On the road, I do think, they shot the hell of the ball the other night and it barely went over. I'll say it goes under tonight instead. I guess I feel better about that. I think on the side, I think this one's going to be tough to the side. I get where the trend is saying the trend would be the New Orleans side based upon the back-to-back, but to me, I think this is a pass. My play would be the under in that game. I don't feel super strongly about anything there. Do you have any trends for that one, Joe?
Oh, let's look them up. Good call here. Well, Pelicans 11-1 in the last 16 meetings, which 4-11, one. Sorry, over 19-7 last 26 meetings. Again, these don't mean shit, but Pelicans last 8 games overall. Look at this, 7-1 for the over.
Yeah.
And against the spread loss too. They're 4-0, which they were against the spread loss. So maybe the over is that play too. Maybe we're going all over if we look at this Knicks Golden State game. Now I will say this, Dan. A week ago we watched the Celtics play the Knicks. The total was I think 216, something like that, maybe right around the number. It was the Knicks that ended up scoring 100 points, and the Celtics didn't. I attribute that to the Celtics bad shooting, but I don't know tonight. This reminds me of a Golden State game because I don't think New York can keep up with Golden State.
I got nothing on this one, Joe. I think the total, the total's basically already come down from 216.5. So if you wanted the under, you've lost value there. The Knicks obviously have been an under team this year. To me, in terms of the total, unless you look it over there, I think that one's pretty much squashed out in terms of the value there. In terms of the side, I think that if you want the Knicks, you need a 5.5. You want the Warriors, you're looking for that 4.5, 4, maybe waiting for game time. Right now, 62% of the bet is on Golden State. The money's coming in on them too. The money's coming in on the under, public's on the over. Not really surprised in these late 10 o'clock games to me. Again, this is just another passing game. Warriors coming off, obviously, that big win at the Lakers. Definitely a letdown spot for them. The Knicks, again, they've been a good team this year comparatively to what your expectations were coming into the season. 7-8, fourth in the Atlantic. Won their last 2, beat a good Celtics team on the road. They're playing better. Letdown spot for Golden State. To me, I would lean Knicks just based off that, but I have no interest in playing this sort of situation.
Under is 6-1 in the Knicks' last 7 road games, 10-2 in the last 12 overall. But history shows the over in these 5 meetings, but they obviously don't play often. And then as far as the Golden State goes, the under is 5-0 in the Warriors' last 5 home games, and they're 6-1. The under is the last. Ooh, what do we got here, Dan? We might have something here.
Yeah, again, I don't pay attention to the trends.
that could be a fade opportunity though. 214. I don't know. And then we'll see what we got tomorrow in the NBA. I know I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of COVID shit going on.
Listen, there's a lot of games right now that we don't know whether or not they're going to be played. We already have saw the Wizards and the Grizzlies games have already been postponed. The Knicks on a back-to-back tomorrow night. They're at Sacramento, but we'll just start with the early games. Boston Celtics back on the road in Philadelphia, coming off the loss Wednesday night. Right now, let's see if we can pop up a line here. I have not seen any line for this game.
I'll get you something.
Nothing yet. I don't see any openers on that one yet, Joe. The only games I see right now, we got Brooklyn. Brooklyn is a 9.5-point favorite tomorrow night. Basically open up at the same spread they did the night before. Dallas opens a 2.5-point favorite at San Antonio. Phoenix opens a 2-point home favorite against the Nuggets. The Kings open up as a 4-point home favorite against the Knicks. Goodness gracious, that's disgusting. Then the Kings are just unbelievably terrible, and the Clippers open as a 13-point favorite at home against the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you want the Knicks at a good number tomorrow, go take them now, because I guarantee you that number will not be 4 by tip-off. Sacramento the Knicks are going to be the heavy public side, but nonetheless, that 4 is not going to stick. That'll probably be down to 2.5. I would have to think at minimum by game time.
All right. I think that's all we have for the NBA. I know some of these Brooklyn tomorrow. Ooh, look at this. Cleveland off that big win. Back to back. I've watched San Antonio. They're bad this year. While Phoenix, I think, is really good. Yeah, I haven't really got a great feel for the NBA yet just because there's so much damn COVID going on. It's been
Yeah, I
hard
mean
to.
the COVID is an issue. I think you have to look for these back-to-back games and kind of see what you can find in them. For instance, I have a feeling that after Marcus Smart complained about the refs, maybe we'll see, a few less free throws for Philadelphia, maybe some more for Boston. So, if that's the type of thing that you think will influence a line there, that's potentially something to look at. What you're looking at in terms of the Orlando Indiana game, Indiana without Miles Turner could not defend Dallas whatsoever. I mean, they look like a completely different team of Miles Turner off the floor. What a shocker! And then the Nets, I mean, back with Kyrie for their second game. I think these are all games that are going to be interesting. I also am looking at that Heat Raptors game. I know the Raptors are 4-3 at home right now, but boy, are they struggling to cover any sort of spread there against any good team. So I know the Heat have not started off very well this year, but feels like the Raptors at home to me might be a fade for a large majority of the season, especially against some of these better teams that maybe are slightly undervalued because of their starts right now, like Miami.
All right. Some NHL games, Dan, if you want to take a look at those tonight as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's dip into the Bruins Flyers game. Look,
total still 5.5.
We all know how people feel about the Bruins right now. I think the trend has caught on through 3 games or whatever we are through the season right now. A lot of people on the unders, right? A lot of people on the unders. That's been the popular thing with the Bruins. They don't have a single 5-on-5 goal. I think at some point there's going to be regression to the mean there, meaning they'll start scoring a little bit more. I'm not advocating to play the under, but I would play the over, but I do think that there is a good chance that the Bruins kind of come alive tonight. You know what I mean? And, you get some goal juices flowing. I personally am looking at that Colorado Kings game again. I know went under last night. For me personally, that's where I'm going again with it. I personally like the under in that game. And I'm going to PP. I'm going to PP the over in the Montreal-Vancouver game tonight, over 6.5 to me at even. I think that is, to me, the right side. They put up a shitload of goals last night. People are going to be expecting, because Allen's in instead of Carey Price and Demko's in for Vancouver. I still expect those teams to put up a good amount of goals tonight. Go over 6.5 there.
Okay.
Anything for you, Joe?
I think I want to take the Bruins under again.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I would, to me, that's not something I'm looking to currently do right now. It's a thing. There's a lot of people on it. I think it's already been kind of caught on to the books, and we'll find out tonight. Obviously, of course, but to me, it's not something I'm looking to do right now.
The Flyers put up a lot of goals. The Flyers put up a lot of goals, and that's something that
you do have to expect there's going to be regression to the mean with the Bruins as well, scoring 5-on-5, right? They're not going to go 5-on-5 goalless forever. There's going to be regression to the mean. You have to expect that there's going to be regression to the Bruins there, not away. And I like the I also like the Bruins tonight outright. I think that unfortunately at this point, laying a minus 150, minus 160 when you opened at minus 133, the value is shot there. I don't think that you can do that. If you want to lay a -1, feel free, but playing the straight out money line with the Bruins is dangerous in my opinion. I think the value is gone. I don't think the game is bettable on a side basis unless you have some Bruins value. You got some early Bruins value. You want to come back with a little bit of Flyers. I just think that I can't bet it.
The local has it at minus 155 around.
Yeah,
and the under is juiced at 125.
Yep, I'm starting to see some under 130s pop as well. We're looking at the Islanders Devils game. There's there's going to be some heavy juice lines tonight in the NHL. That Devils Islanders under 5.5 was heavily juiced. The Canucks Canadians Under 6.5 is heavily juice, and the Avalanche Kings over 5.5 is juice. I also like the under in the Avs Kings tonight, but I'm not going to PP it. I think I've done enough there.
All right, Dan. Let's take a quick little break, and then we will get into everything that is happening championship weekend in the NFL. That coming up after this short silence. All right, we're back over on our podcast. I don't know who these clowns are. How do I get rid of them?
I have no idea. Not making much.
Anyways, all right. So we got NFL weekend. We've discussed these, Dan. Already, we were on with Toucher and Rich this morning. First game is at 3:00 this Sunday, and then we have Buffalo, Kansas City in the nightcap. Now we were joking about this, but if there's someone that can't have Buffalo win, it's you.
Oh yeah, dude. No, this is potentially nightmare scenario for me if they're having both fucking Tampa and Buffalo in the Super Bowl for me. And yeah, absolutely the shit that nightmares is made of. Absolutely, without a doubt.
So one thing I think people should look at is the teaser. Buffalo at 9, Packers at 3, whatever. Buffalo was the number 1 teaser team in the league this year. And Kansas City has been the worst at covering the spread. But Packers been hot, right? They're 9-1, but they're only 6-4 against the spread. Same with Tampa Bay. So I'll make it real easy. I am taking, as of today, I'm taking Packers Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl and be the matchup. The matchup is plus 140 right now. So I'm going to dabble on that. Now there are other ways. I get it. There are other ways to make money. I don't like the 3.5 in Green Bay. Generally, I would buy the hook here. Kansas City, I just can't. I can't bet them to cover a spread, right? I mean, even if it's 3, I don't even know if they'll cover that. They could push, you know. They could win by 1 or 2. They could have a back door and not cover. But what I would do is I would do a money line parlay, Green Bay, Kansas City, as well. And I know you don't like parlays, Dan, but right now it's Green Bay, Kansas City for me. It's square as day. But those are my picks.
If you're going to play the matchup, Joe, you're better off playing the actual money line parlay. Right now, that pays out about 1.6 instead of the 1.4. I highly recommend whenever you bet matchups in like a book or anything to never bet the actual matchup. Always bet the money line parlay instead, because you're actually going to be losing value based upon the actual matchup. So, for instance, the Green Bay Kansas City is plus 140 pays out 155 to 160 in an actual parlay instead of betting the matchup. So don't bet the matchups, especially on these locals. You're getting screwed there, and it's a good way for them to kind of take away some potential money line liability. In terms of the actual first game, to me, there's a clear side in this one. I'm just going to PP it off the top. I'm going to PP the Bucks Packers under 51.5 now. I got that hook instead of this morning where it was at 51. I just look at these two sides and I think that this is an under game. Tampa's offense to me has been lackluster. I know they had a great performance against Washington, but the fact was that Washington got barely any pressure on them. I don't expect that to happen, especially since the pressure was from the outside. And Chase Young going out, especially against the run, changed that game. He was the guy who was the monster against the run early on. Him leaving that game really, really absolutely, killed that Washington defense. To me, that was the end of the game, the end of the story there. The last game against the Saints, I didn't feel any better about their actual offense. I mean, Brady and Gronk and that whole kind of squad, they converted on the turnovers, as you kind of talked about this morning, Joe. And I think that that's what you have to do, especially on short fields in these type of games. And I think that that's why Brady has been so fucking good just historically in the playoffs. They the teams like, the Patriots, the Bucks converting on these short fields with Brady. The problem is that I don't expect Green Bay to have the, what was it, 4 turnover type game that they had. I don't expect Rodgers to have a meltdown and shit his pants and throw, 2 or 3 interceptions. I'm not expecting a fumble and a key pivotal moment for the game for Green Bay. Now that could happen, but I'm just not going to expect, 3 or 4 turnovers. I'm going to expect regression to the mean. That game, by the way, despite all those turnovers, still went under. And again, I look at the same thing here. I do think that Green Bay is going to offensively be able to produce. Running the ball is going to be tough, but I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't like to run the ball anyways. He likes to, throw the fucking rock and, pile up the stats, and he cares more about the stats and the MVPs than he does Super Bowl victories. And we've talked about that. So I think this is going to be an aired out type Rodgers game. That being said, Tampa should get pressure on him. Their front seven is, extremely talented, and we've seen Green Bay, the few times they have struggled this year is when they haven't been able to run the ball and set up that play action pass. So I do think this kind of lines up for an under game on both sides, just because I think Tampa Bay takes away that run, that play action for Green Bay is going to struggle. And I just still haven't been that impressed with Tampa's offense. And the Green Bay defensive line has been incredibly impressive the past few weeks. They're getting all sorts of pressure. They crushed Goff last week. And, I do expect, especially up the middle, that's where Brady struggles. If you're a Patriots fan, you know that. So to me, I'm going under.
Yeah, I just don't think Green Bay is going to turn the football over. I think A.J. Dillon will not be a part of the game, who was the guy who turned the football over for them last week. Devontae Adams, I think, should have his way. And, Brady could have a good game. He could. It just, to me, it comes down to the defense stopping Rodgers. They had their struggles against Heineke, who was mobile. Breeze, threw that bad pick late, but, Cook dropped a pass, fumbled the ball. I just don't see Green Bay doing that. Now, they have, in the past, they have struggled in these type of games. And listen, I think a lot of people are rooting for the Bucs. I really do. I'm actually kind of hoping for Brady, because I want to see the shit show that is the Super Bowl. Them not being with but that's for a different reason. That's for like talk show radio bullshit. But I'm just thinking with my money in my pocket. Tampa Bay won the game earlier this year, and I think Green Bay responds with a win at home. And the way they're playing right now, I think Rodgers is going to be really hard to stop with his footwork. Buffalo, Kansas City. I think Buffalo's got a legit shot to win. Edwards-Helaire will probably be back, which will help Kansas City. I think the Mahomes thing is getting played up all week. I think it's getting played up big time, even though the injury report he was limited. Right? I mean, has the Chiefs truly been tested defensively? I know a couple of teams did, like the Patriots did at times, right? Not around the red zone, but they did.
I mean,
so
yes and no. I mean, I think you can make an argument that Kansas City was defensively challenged at times. I mean, Tua gave them a hard time at points. The Saints gave them a hard time. The Raiders gave them a hard time. Remember, these two teams did face. The Kansas City did face Tampa earlier in the season, on the road in Tampa, and they held that Tampa offense 24 points. And again, it was not impressive 24. Kansas City was up big in that game, and they let Tampa come back into it late. But that game was not very close.
Yeah.
So I mean, their defense has been tested. Is it from a quarterback like Josh Allen? Probably not. I mean, Allen is, unfortunately, despite the fact that I was wrong. I mean, I guess you could say Lamar Jackson early in the season, is somewhat similar. They did face Allen earlier in the year, and they beat them 26-17. I thought that was Allen's worst game of the season outside that Tennessee game. He just didn't look right. He just didn't play well. It was 14-27, throw a pick only at 122 yards. I think that if you're going, the one thing I do I am worried about for Buffalo is that Kansas City will have that sort of game plan against him, where they're basically going to take the zone and say beat us. But I think Allen has played much better the second half of the season, Joe.
Yeah, I think Allen. I think they'll be fine offensively. Buffalo. I think they'll be fine. It's these Mahomes third, and you had them, and I don't love the Buffalo defense. I'll just say that, and I think this is a game where they hang around, and in the end, Kelsey, Hill, Mahomes, they're too much, But again, Allaire could fumble the football, turn the ball. Mahomes might not be right, dude. He might not be, right? I mean, he might not be. But just if I'm putting my money on it, I'm going Kansas City at home in a big game in Green Bay. That's what I'm doing. Things could change if we find out Mahomes isn't playing. I still think the Chiefs will hang around, but Buffalo would probably be the favorite in that case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take a side in this one too. And again, I would normally save them for Saturday, but I know that these are gonna move. So let me just play this now. I'm gonna take the Buffalo Kansas City over 54 PP. So I'm going the other way with that.
Yeah. So I was leaning over based off of where they set the lines, compared to the last time they played. Now I can definitely see Tampa Bay Green Bay going under. I can see it. Just tight teams, and they want to establish the run and then look downfield. The Buffalo Kansas City game, I can see, Buffalo up 14-10, then it's a 17-14 game, and then we go to half. I can definitely see over in that one.
I mean, the tail of these two offenses, Joe, is a quick straight offense. So I mean, these teams, Mahomes will throw a 50-yard pass, and Allen will come back and do the same. So that's my thing, is there's going to be so many explosive plays from both sides of the football. Again, this is the assumption that Mahomes plays. If he doesn't play, oh well, sucks. I'm screwed with the 54, but I'm willing to take it and lock it in early with the assumption that he's going to play in the AFC Championship game, and somehow, some way, the NFL will find a way to clear him. That's not exactly a crazy conspiracy, but it's just pretty much expected.
All right. Anything else, Dan, that you would like to get into before we get out of here today?
I was going to get into some college basketball futures, but I think that we can save that for another day. It's been, we haven't done a short podcast in a long, long time. Usually they're hour and a half, tractor pulls for everyone fucking listening. And it's tough to listen to, us ramble on for an hour and a half Thursday, an hour and a half, and then 2 hours Saturday. I get it. So, why don't we cut it short? I will save my thoughts for the sides of the NFL games for Saturday. I do think Mahomes is going to ultimately play in the Kansas City game. As I said, I like, I'll talk about the sides, but
I wanted to mention, Dan, Tucker Silva, who's our producer, part of the fantasy show. I texted him and I said, "Hey, come up with some props," because we had that discussion about the Davante Adams
last week.
Yep, and that one went over.
It did.
So I think player props might have some value on the day, and the one that's been hitting, dude, is Mahomes rushing. I wonder what that will be. I'm interested to see what that will be this week. So we'll have some player props there as well. And then there is UFC as well. And I'm trying to incorporate this, Dan, into for everyone who's watching. I just used covers today. It's simple. It's easy. Dan, if you want to send me something in advance, I can just pop it up. It's literally a tab. But at least this shows you what the lines are. I can make it bigger too if you feel like you can't see it. But I figured instead of seeing our ugly mugs, we could at least have and if we want to watch a game, Dan, I can have a live game on right here too. If you ever wanted to do that. So But I feel like maybe we can incorporate this a little bit into the podcast because we can see what we're talking about a little bit more. So it's something different.
Yeah, I mean, more than perfectly fine. I'm okay changing things up. I understand right now it's a bit of a lull. I mean, look, there's a lot of sports going on. There's a lot of value in around in terms of the NBA and the NHL. I think you guys need to understand that there's going to the most of the value by the time we talk at 7:00, 6:00 at night on Thursday. The lines have moved to the point where you're no longer getting the best line. You're taking the scraps and and whatever's left over. And of course, I always say that closing line value does matter. It's not the end all be all, but it does matter. Not spanking or anyone.
It does matter.
Yeah. So I mean, right. So, anyways, we'll get to more on Saturday. I'll talk more about the sides I like on Saturday. I was thinking maybe I'll start giving out some futures for college basketball. So I have a future for college basketball. I will give that one out on Saturday. For March Madness, start getting that early, and we'll talk more about the NFL games. I mean, really, we're gonna have a loaded college basketball slate on Saturday. We'll get into that, and NBA and NHL full swing. At this point, it's it's fun, dude. Right now, there's a lot to focus on. It's just hard to kind of pick and choose where you want to, focus all your energy.
Plus, we don't know who's the NBA right now is hard, and it's because we don't know who's playing. But there's no back-to-backs because of COVID's. There's a lot of shit going on there. So let's see what happens tonight. We got a game at 7:30. We got the Bruins coming up at 7. We got Big Ten basketball at 9 o'clock and a couple of picks for the 10 o'clock games tonight. And like I said, we got divisional weekend, UFC Saturday night as well. So it should be a fun-packed weekend. So we're under 1 hour tonight, Dan.
We are. Good. Look at that.
This is good.
Under 1 hour.
All right. So I will download this. Dan will post it at some point soon. And it's here. It's on YouTube for those who need it immediately. And we are back on Saturday morning, 7 to 9 on 98.5 The Sports Hub. You can also hear our appearance this morning by going to 98.5thesportshub.com on the Toucher and Rich Show in the second hour. So he is Dan Lifshatz. I'm Joe Murray. This has been another edition of the Over Under Podcast.
Who you got? Have a good one, fellas.
Later, bud.